Hi, I'm Kahar from Sasuka Photography. Here I would like to share with you about digital SLR camera and how I use it for wedding photography. There are so many digital SLR cameras such as Canon, Sony, Nikon, Olympus, Fujifilm and many more. However, many systems used in these cameras mostly are the same. You might have a problem to understand some terminology used by digital SLR camera. So here, I would like to share with you a very easy way how to use digital SLR camera to take wedding photograph. For my wedding photography job, I usually use a Nikon camera with 3 lenses. They are 1.8 50mm prime lens, 2.8 17 to 50mm lens, and 2.8 70 to 200mm lens. As you can see at your camera, there are several modes we can use to take photos, such as manual, aperture priority, speed, program, and so on. But here I would like to share with you how to use aperture priority to make it easier. In this lesson, I will show you how I use the aperture priority to take wedding photograph. Before that, you have to understand what is aperture.
The aperture is an iris that sits inside your lens, and it opens and closes to control the quantity of light. So we'll switch our camera into aperture priority mode, giving us control over the aperture, and the camera figures out shutter automatically. And it's the second set of numbers that are the aperture numbers, and bigger numbers will mean that you have a smaller opening of the iris, as you see here. And if we lower the numbers, the iris gets bigger and opens up more and lets more light in.
In side view here, you can see the aperture is like a door that opens and closes inside the lens. Anyway, the aperture settings for the lens are called f-stops. Here at the bottom of the screen, you see a typical scale of f-stops for a professional lens. The smallest numbers, like f2.8 on the left, are the largest openings in the lens. Each time you change the setting to the next larger number, the opening in the lens gets smaller and lets in exactly half as much light. So if you start off at f2.8, it lets in a lot of light. If you switch to f4, it lets in half as much light. And if you switch to f5.6, it lets in half as much light as f4, which is a quarter of what we got at f2.8. That is important, so pause and replay if you need to.
End of the video. Now the side effect of the aperture is depth of field, and depth of field is the area that's in focus, and it's what will get you that blurry background in your photograph, so you'll get an effect of this with a blurred background in a portrait shot versus one where you're getting more of that background in focus. By taking a picture with a small aperture setting, a small f-stop number, meaning that your iris is going to be open to a larger size, you're going to get a narrow area that's in focus, a smaller area that's in focus, that's in that depth of field area. But if you increase your aperture numbers, that will decrease the size of the aperture, and therefore it'll widen the area that's in focus, giving you less of a blurred background effect.
Alright, here we go. First of all, for close-up photo, I changed my lens to 50mm prime lens to control depth of field. Here you can see I changed my lens and I set the dial mode to aperture priority. To take a close-up photo, I usually use my 50mm lens with aperture set to 1.8 so that I could get a nice portrait with a blurry background. Then I use my second lens, that is 17 to 50mm. Then I set the aperture around 5 to 12 to make sure both the subject and the background are clearly seen. I used this aperture number almost for the whole wedding ceremony. For outdoor photo, I use my third lens that's 70 to 200 mm, and I set my aperture to 2.8 to 3.2, just around that. Here I show you the effect of depth of field when I use different aperture. For the first photo, I set aperture to 2.8. You can see the subject and the background. The background seems blurry. Then I set aperture to 8, and then I set aperture to 20. You can see the difference from the photo. All these photos can easily uploaded into computer, and you can make some adjustment such as brightness and exposure. So here is a sample of my custom album. I use Photoshop for editing. So I hope you enjoyed this video and see me for the next lesson. Thank you.